What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is good to see you if you've been here before, and this is your first time here. It is nice to meet you. My name is Dr. Brandon Osborne. I'm the Director of Training here at Momentum WOD. I'm a StrongFirst certified kettlebell instructor and a doctor of chiropractic with about 10 years of clinical experience helping athletes manage their musculoskeletal injuries in private practice. Today, what we are doing is what we've done in weeks past. We are going to be looking at the strength training routine of somebody who is affiliated with combat sports, and we are going to be breaking down what they're doing, letting you know what we like, what we don't like, and what you can take to utilize in your own strength training routine to better what you're doing at home. In today's video, we are going to be looking at somebody who is not competitive within the space of martial arts, but somebody who has been a part of the culture for a very long time and is a huge advocate for training jiu-jitsu and for using kettlebells. The individual we are looking at today is none other than Jocko Willink. If you happen to follow Jocko on Instagram, you'll notice that there are only about 3 different things that happen to be on his feed. Pictures of what time he wakes up in the morning, him training kettlebells, and him training jiu-jitsu. So if you're getting an idea of who he is and what he's about, those 3 things pretty much encompass the lifestyle that he lives. Without further ado, let's take a look at Jocko Willink and his kettlebell training technique. So the premise of this video in which Jocko is starring is he is going to show you how you can get a good workout if you are at sea, if you're on a ship. He's focusing on a couple of different exercises over the course of this 5.5-minute video, but we're going to take a small clip of that in which he's performing the kettlebell snatch. We're going to take that one exercise in particular, and we're going to break it down, showing some of the common errors that are affiliated with the performance of that exercise. So over the course of this video, Jocko provides some tips in terms of things you can do to make the most of your time if you have limited exercise equipment. And his first tip that he provides is to bring a kettlebell with you. And this is the great thing about kettlebell training, is the versatility of the one piece of equipment. You can do so much with one kettlebell, an entire gym's worth of exercises. So if you have that one piece of equipment, you can pretty much do anything and everything you want to do. So the exercise he's describing right now is a kettlebell snatch, and he's working through the technique, and we're going to go through it in a little more detail in a few moments. So the snatch is an advanced exercise. It's a ballistic exercise that's going to build posterior chain power, core stability, metabolic endurance, shoulder stability. It does so many different things, and it does them all really, really well. So if you're proficient in the exercise, it would be a good one to perform to better your performance on a bunch of different levels. Jocko's explaining that when you're working out, you should find things that you enjoy doing, things that resonate with you, to keep things interesting, to keep things fresh and new when you're performing a weight training program. And I would second that. I think that's a good idea for you to find something that you're passionate about and that will keep you interested so you can stay committed to a program over the course of time. So Jocko and his buddy here are performing kettlebell snatches. And the first thing we're going to do is compare and contrast a few things that maybe are wrong with regards to the technique. And then I'll talk through a couple of things that I like. I think I'm going to try to find 2 or 3 different things that you can take and you can use at home. So the first thing Jocko does is he gets the kettlebell off the ground. So this is fundamental to any ballistic kettlebell exercise, any momentum-driven movement. And the reason why it's important is because, one, it's going to keep you safe. It's going to keep your low back safe when you're getting the kettlebell started in the movement. And 2, it's going to generate the momentum for your first repetition of the set. As Jocko does this movement here, you'll notice that he starts with the kettlebell position almost between his legs, which doesn't give you the opportunity to generate momentum to start your set. So as opposed to the way Jocko is doing it, I would make sure that that kettlebell was about a foot in front of me, and I would pull it back between my legs high and tight to generate the momentum as if I was already in the middle of a repetition, hinging my hips back for the next rep of his set. So the other thing Jocko does is he's not paying particularly close attention to his low back positioning when he's doing this. And you're just as liable to hurt yourself picking it up off the ground to start your set as you are in the middle of your set. So it's important that you pay attention to those details as you're working through this very basic technique to get the set started. So we're going into the snatch here, and Jocko's technique looks pretty good. The snatch is basically taking a kettlebell swing, and instead of directing it out horizontally, you're directing it up vertically. So it's a harder iteration of the exercise. And Jocko's doing it really well. The second point of contention that I have with Jocko's technique here, we focus so much on low back positioning when it comes to kettlebell exercises, because when people are performing their technique incorrectly, one of the biggest things that happens is the low back gets put in a position where it's compromised. But for him, his back looks good, but his neck positioning is changing throughout the course of the set. So when you're performing this exercise, find a focal point 6 to 10 feet in front of you and stay focused on that point throughout the course of the set. And what that should do is keep your neck in a neutral position throughout the entirety of the exercise. So we not only need to be conscious of your low back positioning during ballistic exercises, but also your neck positioning as well. So that looks pretty good. And the third error we're going to look to is on the opposite side with his friend who's performing the exercise. And if you notice, you can see a difference in the lockout position between the two of them. Jocko has his arm straight, it's locked out, it's strong, and his friend over here is not doing that. His elbow is bent, his wrist is extended. For him, I would say he's not ready for this exercise. He needs to regress back to a kettlebell swing or a kettlebell clean before working his way up to this, because this is an invitation to hurt yourself. Those joints from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist are all at risk for injury because he is not making his arm stable and strong in that locked out top position. So the three keys we talked about with regards to the snatch in this video: first, you want to make sure you're getting the bell off the ground safely. Second, you want to make sure that your spine is in neutral position, not only in the hip hinge for your low back, but for your neck as well throughout. And third, you want to make sure that you're locking out overhead. So a tip that helped me when I was performing snatches and having a little difficulty stabilizing on the left side of my body is you want to visualize that you're generating energy in your body through your elbow. And you want to focus that energy up through your hand and down into your shoulder. And if you can visualize that and focus that while you're at that top position, it will actually help you to root yourself more so and be more stable in that top position. So give that a try if that's something that you find. If you find that your shoulder is shaking in that top position, or you're unable to stabilize or lock out, as this gentleman is having difficulty doing. So Jocko is doing a lot of things right. It's just the little details that we mentioned where I would improve how he's doing it. As you watch his repetitions, he's keeping the bell very close to his body. So you almost want to pretend that there's an imaginary wall in front of you and you're trying to avoid making contact with that wall with the bell. We call this taming the arc. You want to have the bell in a very tight arc close to your body through the upswing and downswing portion of the exercise. What this is going to do is it's going to help you spare your forearms. It's going to prevent the bell from slamming on your forearm or jarring your arm as you're working your way through your reps. So Jocko is doing this really well, and he's likely not having any impact on his forearm at the top of each repetition. If you compare and contrast to his buddy over here, you'll see a pretty significant difference in terms of the impact that the bell is having at the top of the repetition. And the third thing Jocko is doing, which is a big mistake that a lot of people make, is they confuse kettlebell snatches with almost like a dead clean type movement or a squat, where they think that it's not a hinging exercise the same way that a kettlebell swing is. So Jocko is doing it right in that he's hinging his hips back with each and every repetition, and he's getting a lot of power in this exercise because he's directing the bell back behind him. So a good way to visualize this is at the back swing of each and every repetition, you want the bell pointing in as close to a 9 o'clock position as possible. And you'll see Jocko is pretty close to that. He's going really deep into the hinge and he's generating a lot of power as he's going back. Compare that to the guy who's next to him, who is squatting down and he's almost touching the bell to the ground with each and every repetition. So he's going more 6 o'clock, and as a result of this, he's not generating as much power, and he is liable to hurt himself through this motion. So do what Jocko's doing, don't do what the other guy is doing. And the guy's talking about how if you wear a watch, you can slam the bell on your watch and break your watch. I would not wear anything on your wrist while you're performing this exercise. I'm curious what Jocko thought of his friend's technique as he was working his way through it. Notice afterwards, Jocko's chalking up his hands for his next set. He probably chalked up his hands before that set. What that's going to do is that's going to help you to maintain grip strength over the course of a set. It almost makes it sticky a little bit, and as a result of that, you're going to help to prevent any injuries that could happen to the hands, the wrists, elbows, and forearms. All right, so that does it for today's video. That does it for our technique critique of Jocko Willink, who is very proficient with kettlebells, has been training with them for quite some time, and it shows in his kettlebell snatch technique. The snatch is such a great exercise if you're a combat sports athlete, whether you're trying to build conditioning, power, or stability. It does it all with regards to those things. And it's an exercise that if you are proficient with the basics, you can start to incorporate into your kettlebell training routine. If it's an exercise that you haven't mastered yet, I would make sure that you've worked your way through the technique of a deadlift, followed by a 2-arm swing, followed by a 1-arm swing, followed by a clean, and then you can work your way up to a snatch. It's not an exercise that you want to go into if you're not already proficient with those other movements, because you can hurt yourself if you're not doing it correctly. That does it for today's video. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you have found value in the things that I've had to say, and if you have, you owe it to yourself. Hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, let me know who or what you want to hear me talk about next in the comments below. Also, if you have not done so already, make sure you head over to momentumwod.com/join-now. We have a free 7-day trial of kettlebell training programming for combat sports athletes much like yourself. You can access all of our premium subscriber assets without the use of a credit card. You punch in your email address and you have everything at your fingertips, including over 200 workouts, kettlebell technique instruction, and other premium content, which is all available to you. All right, everybody, I am signing off for the day. This is Dr. Brandon Osborne from Momentum WOD. I will catch you next time.